Alright, so what we're talking about today is 12-bar blues. A friend of mine asked, she wanted to know more about the specifics of a 12-bar blues. So this is going to be a little bit more of a in-depth look at something that you might play like acoustically while you're going through a 12-bar blues. So I'm going to do a little version of Sweet Home Chicago, which I think was by Robert Johnson, but I'm not going to play exactly what he would play. So this is not going to be a tutorial about his style or anything like that. This is just what I would play of a sort of very standard 12-bar blues song. So I'll play a couple of verses and then I'll break it down into kind of four main parts. 1, 2. Come on, baby, don't you wanna go? Come on, baby, don't you wanna go? Back to that same old place, sweet home Chicago. So there you go. I did mess up there. If you were counting the bars, I did slip out of the 12-bar pattern for a bit. I'm really sorry about that. So here's the four sort of main sections of what I was doing. So the first thing to know is the chord structure. So 12-bar blues is obviously 12 bars long, and I'm going to show you the basic chords you can use and then the slightly modified chords you could use. So the first, I'm doing it in E, so the chords are E major, which is that one, A major, B7. Normally in a 12-bar blues you maybe strum like this. You'd like count 4 bars of E, like 1, 2, 3, 2, 3, 4, and then you change to A for 2 bars, back to E, now up to B7, A, and back to E. So that's one cycle of the 12-bar blues, and then you just repeat that endlessly throughout the song. We're not going to do normal E though, because that's boring. So what we're going to do is we're going to play an E7. You're going to take your third finger off. So now you just got these 2 fingers holding down this chord, and it's an E7, and it just sounds a little bit more spicy and a little bit more cool, and it comes up in blues all the time. So that's your E7 instead of an E. And when we play A, we're not going to play A. We're going to play a version of A7. And the version I'm doing, and I often do in this key, is you put your bar across the second fret like that, so not your fingers like this. You just bar all the notes, and you put your second or your third finger on the 3rd fret on that top E string, and that gives you the 7th note. Don't ask me why it's called a A7, my theory is poor. Okay, so that's the chord I'm playing instead of a normal A. And a B7, you normally have your little finger there, and then these other 3 like this. But I quite often just don't bother with the little finger because, again, I don't know, I just don't bother with it. So that's the 3 chords I'm sort of subbing in rather than just normal straight chords. E7, A7, and a slightly lazy version of B7. Okay, so that's element number 1. We're getting there, guys. The second most important element is what you do with the picking hand. So I'm not using a pick, I'm strumming, and I'm just using my thumb and my first finger. So your thumb goes down and it hits the lower half of the chord, and your finger plucks up and it hits the top half of the chord. Alright, and you're just doing this kind of bouncy, lopsided rhythm. Think of like a horse trotting along. That's what you're doing. So I'll just do a little bit of that over the E7 chord. So just thumb, first finger, so down and up. And that rhythm kind of just goes all the way through the song. And sometimes you can get, if you're feeling fancy, do a little sort of pluck with your finger and then a quick flick down again. And the other important thing you probably notice I'm doing is I'm palm muting. So I'm using my palm there and I'm just dampening down the strings so they go kind of half dead. All the way through, just thumb, first finger, and palm mute. Okay, and you just keep that going all the way through the song. Okay, now the third element, which is very important, is what notes do you add in to kind of embellish how you're going. So instead of just doing chords all the way through, you add in notes from the blues scale into it. So this is the sort of basic version of the blues scale, which you may or may not know. If you don't know it, it sounds like this. Okay, so I'll just go over the frets quickly. So on the start from the lower E string, you're going to go 0, then 3rd fret, and then A string 0, 2, D string 0, 2, G string 0, 2, B string 0, 3, and top E string 0, 3. So if you're not familiar with that, it is really, 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 really worth learning. It's like the most common sort of scale that you're going to use for playing their blues solos and stuff like that. So bearing that in mind, I never play the whole scale up and down. I just pick notes from it as I'm playing, and what I quite often do is I add them on top of the chord. So this, just to do a little example, in E. So I've got my E7 shape held down, and I'm just going to keep my strumming pattern just dunk, 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 dunk. I'm just going to take my little finger and I'm going to play with the 3rd fret on the E string and off, and the 3rd fret on the B string and off, and I'm just going to see what that does as I'm playing along. So I'm just playing with those 4 notes, and I'm just keeping the rhythm exactly the same. And I'm not thinking too hard. I'm not trying to achieve anything crazy here. I'm just going to let the guitar do the work, and I'm just going to see if I play the notes in the scale over the chord and I stay in time, it's going to sound okay. It might even sound good. So don't think about too much about having to like blow anyone's mind with a crazy solo. Just learn the scale and get the rhythm right, and it will sound fine. And I can kind of do the same thing on top of all the other chords. A7, I might sort of break from the chord a little bit and then do a quick little run on those notes, and the same on the B7. Just going a bit further down the scale that time, and then onto the E. So the idea being here, we're really just rhythm playing. We're not doing solos, we're just adding little embellishments to the chords. And you might do little breaks where you sort of stop the main strum and just do a quick run. But a lot of the time you're actually just adding the notes on top of the actual chords as you play along, and it's just to add a little bit of spice, a little bit of flavour. It's not soloing, it's just spicing it up. Alright, I'm labouring the point a little bit there. The 4th thing we do is we mix in elements of a riff and we substitute it in for the chords. So instead of just playing chords, we play a little fragment of the riff. This is the riff that kind of comes in a lot. You'll have heard it a lot of times if you've ever listened to any sort of blues or rock and roll. So you've heard that a lot of times. I'll just quickly explain what it is, and then I'll show you how you swap it in and out with the chords. All right. So, over the E chord, let's imagine I've got some other person with me playing, and they're playing the chords. So I'm going to do the riff. Put my finger down on the 2nd fret and the A, and I pluck the low E and the A together 2 times, just those 2 strings. And then I put my 3rd finger down on the 4th fret, keeping my 1st finger there, 4th fret and A, and then off again. chord, I just switch up. So now I've got my finger playing the open A string and holding the second fret and the D. Same thing again. Back to E. So you just sort of clamping on and off with the third finger there. When it goes to the B7 chord, I'm going to hold down the second fret there and the fourth fret there. So the second fret and the A, fourth fret and the D, and just play the chord. And A. And there we go. So that's the riff that we're going to sub in. So now I'm going to do a couple of cycles where I just mix between the chord and the riff. So this doesn't add bars to the cycle, it just slots them, it fills in the same amount of bars, alright? So you've got to stick within the 12 bar structure, otherwise the drummer will get very annoyed with you. Alright, so this is just mixing it up a little bit. So I'll start with the chord. And then do a bit of riff. So that's like mixing all four of the elements together there. If you've got any questions about that, do let me know. I'll just go through it one more time. I'll sing a little bit because you know you really need to hear my voice, and just so you can see how you sort of play it and mix all those ideas together as it fits with the song. And if you've got any questions now or later, just send me a message. I'll get onto it. So 1, 2, 3, come on, baby, don't you wanna go? Two and two is four. I'm heavy loaded, baby.